And Nigerian artist Sheriff Abdul Rafiu has distinguished himself in the art scene with his unique technique of creating beautiful portraits by cracking glass. That's this week on World of Africa, at these times on WION World is One.
Welcome back, viewers. You're watching WION World is One. I'm Shivan Channa. This is World DNA, the show that gets your head off the rest.
And I'm Hem Korsaro, and on the show today, American school teacher and former diplomat Mark Fogel has been released from prison in Russia. Fogel's release was negotiated as part of an exchange with Russia. We will be bringing you the latest on this on the show today.
Also on World DNA, at the action-packed AI summit co-chaired by Prime Minister Modi and French President Macron, Modi held discussions with US Vice President J.D. Vance and discussed India investing in US nuclear technology, and this is as per the Vice President's office. We will be bringing you the latest on that front as well. This and a lot more lined up for you right here on World DNA. Let's start with the headlines.
Did the US do anything in return?
Not much. No, they were very nice. We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually.
President Donald Trump says that not much was given to Russia in exchange for the release of US national Mark Fogel as Moscow frees Fogel during a visit by Trump's West Asia envoy Steve Witkoff.
Ukrainian President Zelensky says he is ready for a land swap deal and negotiations with Russia to end the war. Offers to exchange territory seized in Russia's Kursk region.
Elon Musk appears in the Oval Office, defends his aggressive cost-cutting measures aimed at curbing federal spending, warns that the United States would go bankrupt without cuts.
King Abdullah says Jordan will take in 2,000 sick children from Gaza during a White House meeting with Trump as Israel threatens to end the ceasefire if the hostages are not released this week.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei pardons two female journalists who reported on the death of Mahsa Amini in police custody in 2022, as per state media.
Indian Prime Minister Modi meets US Vice President J.D. Vance in Paris. White House says the two leaders discussed how United States can assist India in diversifying its energy sourcing through investments in American nuclear technology.
Millions gather at Triveni Sangam in India's Prayagraj city for a holy dip on Mahapurnima during Mahakumbh 2025.
Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell signals no rush to cut interest rates, citing steady economic growth and a strong labour market. The Fed has paused rate cuts as Powell warns against premature easing that could stall inflation progress.
India's pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah has been ruled out of the upcoming ICC Champions Trophy due to a lower back injury. The Indian Cricket Board has named Harshit Rana as his replacement. Now, US President Donald Trump doubled down on his idea of placing a rebuilt Gaza under the United States authority.
And also pressed Jordan's King Abdullah to take in Palestinians, as he had mentioned earlier as well, who would be permanently displaced from Gaza Strip. Now, this is as the two leaders met at the Oval Office.
And I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Jordan. I believe we'll have a parcel of land in Egypt. We may have someplace else, but I think when we finish our talks, we'll have a place where they're going to live very happily and very safely. And, you know, don't forget, they only want to be on the Gaza Strip because they don't know anything else.
Now, King Abdullah told Trump about Jordan's steadfast position against the displacement of Palestinians in Gaza and the West Bank, and added that it was the unified Arab position. However, he told the US president that Egypt was working on a plan for how countries in the region could work with Trump on the proposal, adding that it would be discussed in a meeting scheduled to take place in Riyadh. The Egyptian Foreign Ministry said the country plans to present a comprehensive vision for the reconstruction of the Gaza Strip that ensures Palestinians remain on their land.
I think the point is how do we make this work in a way that is good for everybody? Right. Obviously, we have to look at the best interests of the United States, of the people in the region, especially to my people of Jordan.
King Abdullah, however, agreed to accept 2,000 ill children from Gaza, a gesture that won praises from Trump. Also prompted the US president to back off from his threat to withhold US aid for Jordan and other Arab nations like Egypt.
All right, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody.
Now, the two leaders met in Washington to discuss Gaza, even as the war between Israel and Hamas in the Strip still awaits a permanent end. Trump said that he does not expect Palestinian group Hamas to meet a Saturday deadline to release the hostages.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has warned of intense fighting which would resume in Gaza if Hamas failed to meet this deadline. He, however, did not specify whether he was referring to all captives or only the 3 that had originally been planned for release.
Israeli military has already started to make preparations. It said it has decided to increase reinforcements in Gaza with additional troops, including reservists.
On the other hand, Hamas reiterated its commitment to the ceasefire deal and accused Israel of failing to abide by the clauses of the agreement. Now, the Palestinian group's allies have come to its support. Yemen's Houthis say that they are ready to launch a military intervention should Israel resume its attack in the Strip.
Of course, uncertainty looms as it remains to be seen how things pan out in the already volatile West Asia. And for the latest on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has also sent us this report from New York. Let's listen to this.
President Donald Trump met with Jordan's King Abdullah II at the White House, and topping the agenda was Donald Trump's proposal for the U.S. to take over Gaza and relocate its Palestinian citizens to neighboring countries. King Abdullah II took to X after the meeting, saying that Jordan opposes the displacement of Palestinians, emphasizing the unified stance the Arab world has taken regarding this action. President Trump, regardless, maintained that Egypt and Jordan will eventually agree and come around. He also proposed transforming the Gaza Strip into a development area with new infrastructure, even suggesting that it would ultimately become the Riviera of the Middle East. The proposal has been, of course, met with widespread criticism from Arab nations, even as President Trump suggested earlier that he would consider withholding aid from Jordan and Egypt if they don't take in Palestinians. King Abdullah was the first Arab leader to meet with President Trump since he took office for a second time. Joining him was the Prince of Jordan, King Abdullah II's son and the heir to the throne. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION. World is One.
Moscow has freed an American prisoner after the first known visit by a member of President Donald Trump's administration to Russia.
Now, the White House said that Steve Witkoff, Trump's West Asia envoy, left Russia airspace with Mark Fogel. It said that Fogel, who was jailed since 2001, was released as part of an exchange but did not offer more details on the same.
The White House, however, added the deal bodes well for ending the Ukraine war. Now, US President Trump said that he hoped the release of Fogel could mark the start of fresh ties with Russia to end the Ukraine war. He added that he would welcome Fogel at the White House later on Tuesday.
We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually. I hope that's the beginning of a relationship where we can end that war and millions of people can stop being killed.
Now, Witkoff, who earlier played a key role in pushing forward the Israel-Hamas ceasefire, is the first senior US official known to have traveled to Russia in recent years. Kremlin had earlier denied about Witkoff's presence in Russia, saying they had no information about his visit.
Fogel was sentenced to 14 years in prison for drug smuggling after he was detained at a Moscow airport in August 2021 with 17 grams of marijuana, which he said he uses for medical reasons. Now, Fogel was left out of a historic swap of prisoners with Russia last August that involved 24 prisoners.
This exchange came as Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said he was ready to swap land in negotiations with Russia. Zelensky, who will meet with US Vice President J.D. Vance on Friday at the Munich Security Conference, said that he was ready for serious talks.
Now, this was a significant change in stance for the Ukrainian leader, who in the past has refused to cede any Ukrainian territory invaded by Russia. Zelensky told a newspaper that he was ready to trade land seized in Russia's Kursk region. And now the Ukrainian president also acknowledged that if Trump withdraws US support for Ukraine, Europe alone will be unable to fill the gap. He said the security guarantees without America are not real security guarantees.
It's been through a tremendous amount like probably nobody else. Really get right down to it. And we're going to have a discussion and see what we can come up with. But great honor to have you with us. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Mr. President.
And a darker crisis is unfolding in Ukraine. American weapons meant for Ukrainian troops have allegedly landed in the hands of Mexican drug cartels.
Well, this next report explains how a perfect storm of corruption threatens both Ukraine's survival and the US border security. Take a look at this next report.
Russia's relentless assault continues to devastate Ukraine's infrastructure with missiles from the Black Sea targeting Kyiv and other regions. Each day brings news of fresh Russian territorial gains, while Ukrainian troops face critical ammunition shortages. Along the Pokrovsk front, Ukrainian forces struggle against Russian infantry assaults, their defense compromised by severe manpower shortages. Desertion rates climb as exhausted soldiers flee a depleted, demoralized military. Behind the visible crisis, a more insidious threat emerges. Ukrainian authorities launched desperate raids across 1,000 locations. Uncovering vast networks of illegal arms sales. Trophy weapons, ammunition and explosives meant for defenders instead disappear into shadowy markets. The corruption cases aren't isolated. Several high-ranking Ukrainian officials have been arrested in corruption cases. Now, American journalist Tucker Carlson's explosive revelation suggests these weapons now arm Mexican drug cartels. This unprecedented security breach not only undermines Ukraine's defense, but threatens America's southern border. This crisis strikes at the heart of Western support, with President Zelensky rushing to Munich for crucial meetings with Trump administration officials. These allegations threaten to derail vital military aid. Ukraine faces a devastating choice: tackle internal corruption or lose the war against Russia.
It's just gargantuan. I mean, you know, the Ukraine government and country was regarded as the number one most corrupt country in Europe before the war started. And you can be sure that after flooding it with so many, literally billions of dollars, and you've had Zelensky himself admit that he doesn't know where $100 billion of that went, and it's anybody's guess to where it was, but there are way too many reports of high-ranking people that were, jailed, that were under investigation.
The ramifications extend far beyond Ukraine's borders. These weapons, intended to defend European democracy, now potentially fuel cartel violence along the US-Mexico border. Each diverted weapon represents a dual threat, weakening Ukraine's defense while strengthening criminal enterprises abroad. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Elon Musk made his debut public appearance with Donald Trump at the White House to announce fresh powers to overhaul the US government.
Now, standing behind the Resolute desk in the Oval Office, Musk defended his outsized role in the gutting of federal agencies and warned that the United States would go bankrupt without these cuts.
Musk, the world's richest man, rejected criticisms of a lack of transparency and possible conflicts of interest. He, however, admitted that he would make mistakes, but said he would be tackling what he called the power of an unelected bureaucracy. Musk himself is an unelected official appointed by the president.
We have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want.
Now, Musk pointed to the country's budget deficit, which topped $1.8 trillion in the last fiscal year, and took aim at high interest payments on the public debt.
It's not optional for Washington to reduce federal expenses. This is what he told reporters. It's essential.
It's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country, and it's essential for America to have the resources necessary to provide things to its citizens and not simply be servicing vast amounts of debt.
Musk also said that he talks to the president almost every day. He said that he checks frequently with the president to make sure that this is what the president wants to happen. Musk has been tasked by Trump to lead federal cost-cutting efforts through his Department of Government Efficiency.
Trump signed an order that was set to give DOGE extra powers to order the heads of government departments to prepare for more of the cuts that have shaken the United States already. The remarks, however, came as the Trump administration finds itself on a collision course with the US courts as federal judges questioned the legality of White House cost-cutting measures. Trump said he would abide by the courts if judges tried to stop the investigation.
And it seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. And we want to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that.
And for more on this, a correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us a report on this. Listen to this.
In an Oval Office address, Elon Musk, the head of Doge, articulated his rationale for aggressive cost-cutting measures aimed at curbing federal expenditures, citing the national deficit and mounting debt as urgent threats to economic stability here in the United States. Musk framed the federal workforce as an influential yet unelected force necessitating recalibration. His strategy includes restructuring federal hiring roles, acknowledging the potential missteps. He said that errors will be corrected with transparency and collaboration with President Donald Trump. Now, he also noted that the people voted for major government reform, and that's what the people are going to get. He said this is what democracy is about. This was, of course, in response to the pushback Doge has been facing by Democrats. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, it's been 2 months since South Korea suspended President Yoon Suk-yeol declared a short-lived martial law.
Now, as his fate hangs in the balance, Yoon Suk-yeol has directed the blame of declaring the martial law on the South Korean opposition. At the impeachment hearing in a constitutional court, Yoon Suk-yeol complained that the South Korean opposition had failed to offer him due respect while he was in office. And he said the opposition's refusal to applaud him or shake his hand exposed their plans to destroy his government. Several lawmakers were in attendance to the hearing.
Now, as the proceedings took place, pro-Yoon protesters held "Stop the Steal" signs outside the court. Hundreds of them waved flags and called for the parliament's impeachment motion to be overthrown.
I came here hoping that it would be revealed that the president, Yoon's martial law was legal, and that he, Yoon, emphasized ensuring no one gets hurt.
Now, another hearing is slated for the 13th of February. It is widely expected to be the last one before the court rules whether to uphold Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment, a move that would trigger a fresh presidential election in South Korea within 60 days.
Now, Yoon made a martial law declaration on the 3rd of December last year and turned the opposition as anti-state elements. It triggered widespread public outrage and protest, plunging the country into its biggest political crisis in decades. Yoon was arrested last month and is being held at a detention center. And Hindu devotees across the world are rejoicing in the festival of Thaipusam.
The annual event commemorates the day when goddess Parvati gave her son Murugan a powerful lance to fight evil. The festival is celebrated with great enthusiasm in India, Malaysia, Singapore and other countries with large Hindu Tamil populations.
Now, in Malaysia, hundreds of thousands of Hindu devotees, including ethnic Indian Malaysians, as well as tourists, gathered at the Batu Caves temple every year to celebrate this festival. Devotees walk barefoot up the temple's 272 steps to the most sacred cave, carrying enormous portable wooden altars decorated with pictures of Hindu gods and peacock feathers. Some worshippers pierce their bodies with hung hooks and chains from their bodies as an act of devotion. The festival is a significant event for the ethnic Indian community in Malaysia, which makes up about 7% of the country's 34 million population.
The practice of carrying kavaris has passed through generations, and with it has come changes, such as the use of lids.
I remember that when I first saw my father doing kavari when I was 6 years old, so I was thinking, what is what my father is doing? Then I followed him until the top, and on the next year, when I was standard 1, 7 years old, I first took a small kavari. I requested to my dad that can I take one kavari, and he did for me a small one.
For those who are having some problems or something like that, they will come and make a vow So once the thing is happened, they will fulfill their vow by taking Palkoda.
In India, thousands of devotees in the southern state of Tamil Nadu were seen thronging the temples dedicated to Lord Murugan on the occasion of Thaipusam. All right, with that, it's time now for a short break.
Don't go anywhere. This is World DNA. Him and I will be back with you after this short break. On the other side, a full report on Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron, who have vowed deepen economic cooperation as the France-Indian Economic Forum in Paris draws to a close.
A girl from India's Jammu and Kashmir has made her mark in the Guinness Book of Records for making most origami paper boats in an hour. We'll get you the latest on this. Do stay tuned.
Under Prime Minister Modi's leadership, the world is witnessing a strong, sovereign, and thriving Republic of India.
A historic meeting that could shape the future. Prime Minister Modi is set to hold crucial talks with US President Donald Trump in Washington, D.C.
My family!
Indian PM travels to the US for his first bilateral talks with President Trump since his re-election. Expect high-stakes discussions on defense, deportation and tariff, as India and the US work to strengthen ties. Stay tuned for continuous coverage, only on WION.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the US.
And I will be here at the WION headquarters, getting you all the action from the universe of sport. All that you need to know about your favorite teams and players, right here.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of.
A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA.
Join the conversation.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening, as we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Sudan's military chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan mulls formation of a technocratic wartime government after the recapture of Khartoum is completed. The Sudanese army has in recent weeks regained ground in the capital along several axes. New White House administration and Elon Musk's budget-cutting team abolishing federal programs like the USAID draws anger from Africa, with many who depended on the agency now distraught. And Nigerian artist Sheriff Abdul Rafiu has distinguished himself in the art scene with his unique technique of creating beautiful portraits by cracking glass. That's this week on World of Africa, at these times on WION World is One.
Know more, understand better, think ahead. Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas with me, Modi-Macron. get the facts, not the bombast. On the 26th of March, dynamic pricing, Baloch separatists, Gravitas cuts out the clutter. Gravitas keeps calm when others scream. Gravitas brings news to life. Weekdays 9 p.m. IST, 3:30 p.m. GMT. Gravitas. Seeing is believing.
Vielleicht nur als Impulsant.
Welcome back to World DNA. Thank you so much for staying with us. Lots lined up for you on this side of the show. Let's get started with the headlines first.
Millions gather at Triveni Sangam in India's Prayagraj city for a holy dip on Magh Purnima during Mahakumbh 2025.
Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets US Vice President J.D. Vance in Paris. White House says the two leaders discussed how United States can assist India in diversifying its energy sourcing through investments in American nuclear technology.
Did the US give anything in return?
Not much. No, they were very nice. We were treated very nicely by Russia, actually.
President Trump says that not much was given to Russia in exchange for the release of US national Mark Fogel as Moscow frees Fogel during a visit by Trump's West Asia envoy Steve Witkoff.
Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky says he is ready for a land swap deal and negotiations with Russia to end the war. Offers to exchange territory seized in Russia's Kursk region.
Elon Musk appears in the Oval Office, defends his aggressive cost-cutting measures aimed at curbing federal spending, warns that US would go bankrupt without cuts.
King Abdullah says Jordan will take in 2,000 sick children from Gaza during White House meeting with Trump, as Israel threatens to end ceasefire if hostages are not released this weekend.
Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei pardons two female journalists who reported on the death of Mahsa Amini in police custody back in 2022, as per state media.
Goldman Sachs scraps its 4-year-old policy requiring 2 diverse board members for IPO candidates, citing legal developments. The move comes amid growing scrutiny of corporate diversity policies under President Trump's administration.
India's pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah has been ruled out of the upcoming ICC Champions Trophy due to a lower back injury. The Indian Cricket Board has named Harshit Rana as his replacement.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and French President Emmanuel Macron have closed the Franco-Indian Economic Forum in Paris.
At the business forum, the two leaders pledged to deepen economic cooperation between their countries, while the French president insisted on the importance of building ties to reduce dependency on the US and China. The Indian Prime Minister called on French business leaders to invest in his country. During his closing speech, Modi said France and India can together lead to a global transformation.
जब फ्रांस की फिनेस और भारत का स्केल मिलेगा, जब भारत का पेस और फ्रांस का प्रिसिजन मिलेगा, जब फ्रांस की टेक्नोलॉजी और भारत का टैलेंट मिलेगा, तो सिर्फ बिजनेस लैंडस्केप ही नहीं, ग्लोबल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन होगा.
Prime Minister Modi co-chaired the Artificial Intelligence Summit in Paris with Macron. World leaders and tech bosses convened at the Grand Palais on the second and final day of the AI Action Summit, where Prime Minister Modi told attendees that India would be happy to host the next AI Summit. And Macron's office has confirmed that India will in fact host the next international summit on artificial intelligence.
The summit's declaration, entitled Statement on Inclusive and Sustainable Artificial Intelligence, prioritizes ensuring AI is open, inclusive, transparent, ethical, safe, secure and trustworthy, and making AI sustainable for people and the planet. The US and Britain have not signed the communique. Now, at the summit, Prime Minister Modi drew attention to an unexpected flaw in artificial intelligence. He pointed out that if you ask AI to draw an image of someone writing with their left hand, the app will most likely draw someone writing with their right hand. The reason is that AI is trained on data sets dominated by right-handed images. His statement highlights a deeper issue. It underscores a critical aspect of AI developments: bias in training data. Modi emphasized that while the positive potential of AI is absolutely amazing, there are many biases that we need to think carefully about.
Earlier at the summit, US Vice President J.D. Vance warned European allies against over-regulating the artificial intelligence sector, saying they will make every effort to encourage pro-growth AI policies. Prime Minister Modi met with Vance on the sidelines of the summit. The two leaders discussed how the United States can assist India in diversifying its energy sourcing through investments in American nuclear technology.
The White House says Prime Minister Modi shared gifts with J.D. Vance children and wished the Vice President's son, Vivek, a happy birthday. The meeting comes ahead of Prime Minister Modi's US visit later, in which topics like trade, investment, technology and immigration are expected to be discussed. Now, Modi and Macron have arrived. They arrived in Marseille in southern France to inaugurate an Indian consulate, and this will be India's second diplomatic mission in the European country after the embassy in Paris.
The two leaders were also slated to visit international thermonuclear experimental reactors facilities near Marseille. And for more on this, our correspondent Himanshu Dikshit has sent us this report from Paris. Listen to this.
Day 2 of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Paris, France has been a very eventful one. The day started with Prime Minister Modi co-chairing the Artificial Intelligence Summit with President Emmanuel Macron. Prime Minister Modi gave a speech which was considered to be very inclusive, where he said that artificial intelligence need to be used for the better of humanity, for scientific research, for medical purposes, and also for agriculture.
In a striking contrast of energy visions, French President Emmanuel Macron has launched a bold counter to Donald Trump's fossil fuel agenda.
Now, while touting France's supremacy in the race for AI dominance as the world races towards a digital future, two contrasting visions of energy and progress emerged from opposite sides of the Atlantic.
Listen in to Macron, who gave a sharp twist to US President's drill baby drill pitch.
Last year, we exported 90 terawatt hour, 90, which means we can localize a lot of data centers on top of what we need in terms of electricity for our own companies, our own households. So it's very important in this world where I have a good friend in the other part of the ocean saying, drill, baby, drill. Here, there is no need to drill. It's just plug, baby, plug. Electricity is available. You can plug, it's ready.
The French president's stance comes as his nation positions itself to become a global AI powerhouse, attracting tech giants with promises of abundant, sustainable energy. This direct challenge to Trump's fossil fuel advocacy marks a dramatic escalation in the global debate over energy futures.
Trump pledges to unleash American oil, promising to demolish environmental regulations and actively suppress renewable energy initiatives. His vision of economic revival remains firmly rooted in fossil fuel extraction, even as global markets increasingly embrace sustainable options.
At the heart of the Republican platform is our pledge to end this border nightmare and fully restore the sacred and sovereign borders of the United States of America, and we're going to do that on day one. That means two things on day one, right? Drill, baby, drill, and close our borders.
Trump's campaign slogan, drill, baby, drill, is more than a catchphrase now. It's a policy direction. He promises to roll back environmental regulations, ramp up drilling, and slash subsidies for renewable energy. Trump wants to position the US as the world's dominant fossil fuel producer.
And a girl from India's Jammu and Kashmir has made her mark in the Guinness Book of Records.
Teenager Rutba Shaukat has managed to break the world record for making most origami paper boats in 1 hour. Rutba Shaukat, an athlete, took to art during the COVID spell, and since then she wanted to make a world record. Rutba has set a new record now in the art of paper folding by making 250 origami paper boats in 1 hour. Rutba had applied for the world record twice before but could not achieve the goal in her previous attempts. And in her third attempt, she managed to achieve the feat and broke the previous record.
I read about the Guinness Book of Records and I researched and applied. I did my research and read about the origami paper art, and there was a boy who had made 150 paper boats in an hour. And that's where I started and broke this record by making 250 in an hour.
Rutba has won over 50 medals in state and national level championships, including many awards for martial arts. Rutba has also featured in the India Book of Records. Getting listed in the prestigious Guinness Book of World Records is a dream come true for her, and she hopes that her achievement will inspire Kashmiri girls to break all barriers and create a name for themselves.
Rutba's story is a great example of where there is a will, there is a way. After 2 failed attempts, Rutba finally achieved her dream and made her mark in the Guinness Book of World Records. And now she's also become an inspiration for thousands of Kashmiri girls. With video journalist Feroz Idris Sloan for WION World is One.
India's economy is still the fastest growing in the world, but is it starting to sputter?
With tax cuts and lower interest rates, this will be the fuel needed to power growth or just a temporary boost. We break down the numbers, the policies and what it all means for the global economy. Take a look.
India remains the world's fastest growing major economy, but even the best engines need a tune-up. With growth estimated to slow to 6.4% this fiscal year, the Modi government is hitting the accelerator with tax cuts and interest rate reductions, hoping to jolt consumer spending back into high gear. The latest budget offers tax relief, raising the exemption limit to around $13,000, putting more money into the pockets of over 10 million taxpayers. The idea? More disposable income fuels spending, which in turn revs up corporate earnings. But will this be enough to turbocharge growth? Economists are skeptical. Inflation, stagnant wages, and post-pandemic loan repayments have put spending in the slow lane. Even corporate giants like Maruti Suzuki and Reliance Retail have reported weaker earnings due to subdued demand. Consumption drives 60% of India's economy, yet urban households are tightening their belts. Some analysts argue that deeper structural reforms, like boosting capital investment, creating jobs and cutting fuel prices, would provide a longer-term boost. With a blend of tax breaks, interest rate cuts and investment incentives, the government is betting on a grand economic comeback. But for now, the question remains: will these measures be enough to shift India's economy back into the fast lane? Or is a bigger overhaul needed under the hood? Bureau Report, WION World is One.
All right, let's now take a look at developments from the world of technology. Playgrounds are coming alive again in Brazil as a nationwide ban on cell phones in schools takes effect. President Lula da Silva recently signed the legislation prohibiting the use of mobile devices in classrooms and during break times for students across the country. Early reports suggest the ban is already having a positive impact. In Rio de Janeiro, children are spending more time playing outside, with teachers also noticing an improvement in students' focus. This move comes as growing concerns have emerged about the negative impact of excessive smartphone use on children's development and learning. The ban aims to create a more conducive learning environment and encourage healthier social interactions among students. According to a 2024 survey by Opinion Box, a digital research company that is, most Brazilian children got their first cell phones at the age of 10, while children under the age of 3 were spending almost an hour and a half a day on smartphones, and this rose to almost 4 hours for those between 13 and 16.
Europol has seized 27 servers and arrested 4 Russian nationals suspected of deploying a variant of Phobos ransomware. Europol said international cooperation between 14 law enforcement agencies led to the arrest of these 4 individuals. Phobos ransomware poses a significant threat to small and medium-sized businesses, many of whom lack the necessary cybersecurity measures to effectively defend against such attacks. The crackdown follows a series of important arrests targeting Phobos ransomware. A key Phobos affiliate was arrested in Italy in 2023. Meanwhile, in 2024, a Phobos administrator was arrested in South Korea, who was later extradited to the US.
Chinese car maker BYD's entry into the South Korean market has led to concerns over potential data leak to China. The country's industry observers warn that BYD's connected car features such as over-the-air software updates and navigation features could potentially allow for the transfer of sensitive driver data to China. Meanwhile, BYD has assured its South Korean customers that data collected in the country is managed locally and not shared with its parent company in China, adding that the automaker is committed to complying with South Korea's Personal Information Protection Act.
India's pace spearhead Jasprit Bumrah has been ruled out of Champions Trophy with a lower back injury.
Harshit Rana has been named as replacement for the A-team tournament, while spinner Varun Chakravarti has also made the cut at the expense of opener Yashasvi Jaiswal.
Now, Bumrah's latest scans did not reveal anything untoward, but it is being reported that he is not entirely ready to be back in action. The 31-year-old has been rehabilitating for the injury he picked up during the Sydney Test in January, which also ruled him out of the England white ball series. Bumrah's progress has been monitored by the BCCI medical team in Bengaluru, and there is no confirmation on the timeline of his return. The pacer was named in the provisional squad for the Champions Trophy, with the board hoping that he would be fit in time for the tournament. And this is the second ICC event that Bumrah will miss due to injury, having sat out at the 2022 T20 World Cup in Australia due to another back injury.
Harshit Rana will try to fill the big boots of Bumrah. The 23-year-old made his debut during the ongoing England series. He has played 2 tests, 2 ODIs and a T20I till date. Rana is also the first Indian to bag 3 wickets on debut in each of the 3 formats.
Oh, a swing and a miss. There's a huge appeal.
Jaiswal, who had made the cut in the provisional squad, has been dropped for mystery spinner Chakravarti. Jaiswal, along with Mohammad Siraj and Shivam Dube, will now be the non-travelling substitutes. India are in Group A of the Champions Trophy alongside Pakistan, Bangladesh and New Zealand. They begin their campaign against Bangladesh on the 20th of Feb, followed by Pakistan on the 23rd of Feb and New Zealand on the 2nd of March. All of India's matches will be played in Dubai. Alright, next up, let's bring you some updates from entertainment. Marvel's first movie in 2025, Captain America Brave New World, has surpassed Deadpool and Wolverine in pre-release ticket sales in China. According to box office analysts, the film has collected $346,000 in pre-sales, which is significantly higher than the $221,000 record sale witnessed by Deadpool and Wolverine. China remains a crucial market for Hollywood blockbusters. While strong pre-sales do not guarantee a massive box office success, they do indicate the growing anticipation and positive buzz surrounding the upcoming Marvel film.
The red carpet was rolled out in Berlin for the 75th edition of the Berlin Film Festival. Workers wheeled out long rolls of red carpet and laid it down outside the Berlinale. This year's film festival will be headed by the new director Trisha Tuttle, and iconic movies such as Run Lola Run, The Light will be opening the event. The honorary Golden Bear of the 2025 Berlinale will be awarded to Scottish actor Tilda Swinton for her lifetime achievement at the opening ceremony. The Berlin Film Festival will run from the 13th of February to the 23rd. And the New York Fashion Week has finally come to an end. Let's take a look at the highlights from the last day of one of the big 4 fashion weeks.
Also a
big shout out to my heritage and to encourage all of us to acknowledge and be proud of our heritage, especially in this day and age. So this collection could not have come to life in a better time.
It was sort of a literal and figurative take on the word of twisting, but I love the idea that sportswear was created in America. I love America, but I also wanted it to give people the ability to have a second glance, where you look at something.
Favorite pieces are so difficult because they're still all my babies. I do adore that last look. The black cape with the black macrame dress with the beading on it. It's so special.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of World DNA.
But before we leave you and slip into a short break, here are all the stories in climate making headlines across the globe. Just take a short break after that. Stay with us. This is WION World is One.
To bring the benefits of the Subhash Chandra Show to your educational institution, teachers and students, send an invitation to Juhi Jha at juhi@such.org.in.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories.